am your host, Indiana's own Dana Black, coming to you live, all the way live from Black Pearl Studios, where we talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. Oh my goodness. Have y'all been watching the January 6th commission? Listen, if you've not been paying attention, if it hadn't been for the fact that all the players involved who wanted to, overthrow the government were complete and total idiots, we would be in a whole nother state of mind right now. We would be in a whole nother place talking about what happened. When did that happen? How did that go? The fact that this commission is laying out a timeline of the plan to overthrow the government is insane right now. It is beyond insane. This commission basically says, look, right after the election, these clowns went into overdrive on trying to figure out how to, just say what had happened with the election didn't actually happen. And these fools is out here ginning people up, getting people fired up. And there's a timeline. Y'all need to watch this. Now, I know there are a lot of people who keep questioning whether or not the president of the United States should actually be charged. Yes, he should be. He should definitely be charged with an insurrection. Absolutely. Treason. Yes. There is nobody above the law. Ain't that what they tell us? Ain't nobody above the law. And he's an orange dude. He should not be above the law. But you know what I really feel bad about? Well, not really. Because, not really. These people were straight up marks. All of these people that showed up January 6th were duped. Now, I'm not exactly sure what happened in their lifetime for them to fall for the okie doke, but they did. I don't know whether I should attribute that to nature or should I attribute that to nurture. I don't know. I don't know whether I should blame public education or the lack thereof. I don't know what to blame it on, but the fact that these people actually, and listen, as they said, it's not even over. There are so many people out here still believing the big lie. They believe it. They won't even listen to the hearings because they're like, oh, it's a lie. And then you have people like Jim Jordan who keep trying to deflect. I keep thinking to myself, that dude is eventually going to figure out there's a time for him to shut his mouth. But he hasn't quite figured that part out yet. But the most telling part in this week's episode of Who Wants to Overthrow the Government, they name dropped all the elected officials in Congress who were asking for a pardon. They name dropped them all. Yes, every last one of them. So you can't even pretend like you didn't ask for a pardon, because we know Jared Kushner, what did he say? Yeah, I wasn't listening to the, the council because he always threatened to leave. I just thought he was whining. I was too busy working on pardons. Remember he said that? Now we have a list of all the people that were asking for a pardon. Now, why were these people asking for a pardon? I don't normally go around, reaching out to the governor myself saying, hey, Gov Holcomb, I'm going to need a pardon, because you have to be engaging in criminal activity to actually need a pardon. They showed video of the two people who did get pardons hanging out with the Proud Boys, hanging out with all these criminals trying to overthrow the government. But the bomb dropper, I'm telling you a whole bunch of stuff that had my mind just going. But the bomb dropper was when Cheney said, yeah, we got word that the Orange Menace tried to call one of our witnesses, and we're going to let the Department of Justice know that he was trying to tamper with our witness. How many more crimes can this fool commit? How many more? Before people wake up and go, this ain't cool. But you know what? I'm a Twitter girl, so I will go on Twitter and read the comments. And these people are oblivious to what is really going on. They don't want to know. It's just like people who don't want to know history. Oh, wait, that's another story for another time. My bad. My bad. Here I go mixing subjects up. Why am I doing that? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do it. Oh, y'all see Lindsey Graham? He's been subpoenaed by Georgia, by the sister. And why is it that it's only the sister law enforcement agencies who are willing to go after these people? The AG in New York, sister. The prosecutor in Fulton County, a sister. They like, we're not having any of this. Y'all don't make us nervous. We're coming for you. We're coming for you. So now I need my full-on Department of Justice to get on this and follow the sisters' leads because they are doing this. But Lindsey Graham's like, I'm going to fight it. You can fight all you want to, but you're going to Fulton County, buddy. The judge even threw out the request like, yeah, no, we're not going down there and talk to him. So we can know why you were calling the Secretary of State, asking them to find votes or throw out votes. All of this is illegal activity. Okay, so Dana, why are you talking about this? Because normally you stay within your borders and you don't usually go out there talking about all this other stuff. I'm going to tell you why. The whole goal, one, is to, we know that the population is shifting. We know that by 2043, we're all going to be on an equal playing field. The white majority will be no more. And there are some people who are having a real hard time with the idea that other folks who also live in this country, who also contribute to the greatness of our nation, will actually have a say in how we're governed. They don't want that. They don't, imagine not wanting to allow your fellow citizens to have equal access to this citizen government. I don't understand that. I don't understand that mindset. It doesn't make any sense to me. But that's what's happening. These folks, and they played the long game. They played the long game. They got all the state houses they need. They got all the Supreme Court justices they need. And even some of the lower courts, which is really, really scary. They played the long game. While we were celebrating small gains and not showing up in midterm elections, they were playing the long game. Now we got to play catch up, but we can't. We can do this. We know that all we got to do is show up and show out. There are more of us than there are of them. And they don't even, we used to say they don't outline what they want to do, but actually Representative Senator Scott actually outlined everything they want to do. They want to take us back in time. They want to put us all in this political time machine and go back before Loving, even though Justice Thomas don't want to talk about that. Go back before Loving, go back before Obergefell. They even want to go back, probably Brown v. Board of Education. Yeah, they do. They want to go back to all of that. And they want to have a minority rule. Now, if you think that can't happen, it absolutely, positively can happen. And it has not been that long ago where there was a regime where the minority was ruling the majority. Well, Dana, what were you talking about? What do you mean? South Africa. Nelson Mandela was in prison for 30 years? They didn't decide to share power in government until 1990, 1991. Think about that, y'all. I was just legal in 91. It's not been that long ago. So if you think that a minority rule can't happen, it can. But that's why it's so important for all of us to get involved. That is why I preach it. I pray for it. I hope everybody understands the significance of getting involved, because if you don't, policies will be dictated to you versus you dictating what the policies should be. And real quick, before I get off and introduce my guests and we have a good chop it up kind of conversation, y'all, we got a problem in our state house. I mean, I know we got a lot of problems, but we got a really, really, really big problem. Attorney General Ty Rakita is one big old special specimen. This guy gets on his network and decides to say, well, I'm going to go after the doctor that performed the healthcare procedure on the 10-year-old little girl. I mean, now I want y'all to think about that for a second. This nugget is more focused on the doctor who possibly performed a life-saving a necessary healthcare procedure on a 10-year-old girl who was raped and raped, a 10-year-old girl raped and impregnated. Her body is more than likely not fully developed enough to actually carry a child to full term. So she performed a life-altering, life-saving procedure on this 10-year-old little girl so that she might have some sense of normalcy after going through probably the rest of her life of therapy for being raped. This nugget gets on the news and says, I want to go after the doctor. I want to see her licensure. Are you serious? You are more concerned about the doctor who saved that little girl's life versus the fool who actually got her pregnant, who actually raped a 10-year-old little girl. Why don't you team up with the Ohio Attorney General and figure out how you can put that clown under the prison for the rest of his life and anyone who behaves in the same way he does? But no, you are looking for headlines. And why are you going after the doctor? Abortions are not actually illegal in Indiana right now. So now either you pandering or you plan on wasting our tax dollars once again. I'm just saying, y'all, after this year, after we flip some seats in 2020 and send some good folks to DC and in our state house, then we must turn our attentions to getting rid of our attorney general and making sure that his bid for governor, because he's running, never, ever comes to fruition, and we send him out to pasture with all the other relics of time. All right, that's my rant. Y'all, one of my favorite people out of Bartholomew County who is brilliant on her own. She wants to serve. She could be doing a gazillion things like, I don't know, figuring out space travel or whatever she wanted to do. She's got it like that. Y'all give it up for the 2022 congressional candidate for District 6, taking on the sibling slaughtering Greg, whatever his last name is, because he was some Cain and Abel stuff going on. Cinde Wirth. Cinde, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dana. It's good to be here. Good to be back.
I am so glad that you were here, and congratulations on putting your name on the roster of great Democratic candidates who are running. I gotta ask you though, real quick, when homeboy didn't look out for his brother, what did you think about that?
Well, I can say I was not surprised. I was maybe a little shocked, but not completely shocked. And that, he would split his vote to go both ways also does not surprise me.
Yeah, and that's kind of a snake in the grass kind of thing to do, ain't it? I mean, like, that's your bro. You supposed to have his back. Blood's supposed to be thicker than water, but I guess that orange menace has got a way with people, and he can make you forsake your own family.
Well, yes, to be endorsed by the former person in charge of the country and also trying to keep an alliance with your brother must be a very difficult path to walk. And I don't envy any of that.
No.
I think.
No, yeah. I wouldn't want no parts of that. So Cinde, tell the people who you are and where you come from.
So I'm Cinde Wirth. I am the Congressional Democratic nominee for Indiana's 6th District. I am a 7th generation Central Indiana native. My great-grandfather was a horseback mail carrier. My great-grandmother took in sewing and gave meals to neighbors during the Depression because with her husband being a mail carrier, he had a job. My other grandmother worked her whole life in a bakery. So I come from a long line of women who serve, women who work. My other grandmother also worked in a bank her entire life. So, doing a lot comes natural to me. As hard work and pitching in do? Like you said, I could be doing a lot of things. Okay, so yeah, so hard work and pitching in are no strangers to my family. It's just part of our Central Indiana, Southern Indiana life work ethic that you do what you can for others. And I think a lot of that's been lost. This Pence I'm running against is no different than his brother. Well, other than the fact that he like sold his brother off, but they don't understand what a real hard, honest day's work is. And besides the fact that he deems himself an oil executive while blaming others for high gas prices and leaving Indiana to clean up the mess of his failed gas stations. But I'm running because these things matter. It matters that people are represented. It matters that public education is supported. It matters that gun sense is put back into practice. It matters that abortion is safe and legal. I mean, all of these things matter. It matters that our economy is made so that people can succeed and have days off and time off and rest. It matters that our healthcare is not tied to our jobs so that we don't have to use GoFundMe. So those are some of the reasons I'm running. It all matters. And while some of it may not directly affect me and some of it may directly affect me, it affects Hoosiers. So that's the part of caring for others that I think is so important, that we take care of each other.
I love it. I love it. My second guest on the show, she is a return guest. She has been elected before, and she handles her business, y'all. Running in District 19 for the Indiana House of Representatives is Lisa Beck. Lisa, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. And this is my third time.
I know.
On your
like,
show.
You starting to rack up frequent flyer miles. I love it.
You know, I was thinking about the first time that we came down. I actually drove down to your studio, which was pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, and well, you should see the studio now. And I know there's some people that want to come back in. I think I'm just about ready. I think I gotta fix it up aesthetically a little bit, because I just have some foam. I need to make it pretty, right? So that it has a good shot. But we can definitely start doing studio in-persons again. So thank you for mentioning that. So you ran before. Tell the people why you back.
I never finished. You know, in 2020, there's so many reasons why I think I lost my election, but one of them, and I'm not ashamed of, was I was really working hard as a state rep and not campaigning. And so I think, there's some things that I want to get done. There's some more things that I really just was learning how to do it when I lost my election. So yeah, I want to do it again. I'm back at it, and I got to tell you, I was right outside canvassing. I've been going door to door, and the response I'm getting has been really good. I'm really feeling very positive right now. So that feels good. In 2020, there was, when I did have time to go out, I don't know, it was a completely different atmosphere than what it is now. I'm really excited about Democrats right now.
I love it. I love it. And y'all, as we always do, I have included both of their donation links. So if you like what these ladies are talking about, then please, please, please donate to their campaigns. And let them know how much you need them. Because, we would love to take money out of politics, but not going to happen. So, y'all, there's a whole lot of stuff on the table. And we already know the biggest thing for us right now is what's happening at that State House on July 25th. And the folks' desire to take away a woman's right to choose what actually happens to her body. Lisa, you missed it, but I went on a rant about Attorney General Ty Rakita going after the doctor who saved the life of a 10-year-old rape survivor versus going after the person that raped the 10-year-old. Women's reproductive rights is big on the table, y'all. Talk about the importance of us making sure that we show up, right? And that we send y'all both to the federal house and into our state house to protect women's rights. Lisa, I'm gonna go ahead and start with you.
One thing I was thinking about recently is, I do listen to the other side. And I was listening to an NPR radio show the other day, and they were interviewing, I don't remember the gentleman's name, but he was from the Catholic Church. And then there was also a woman who was, it sounded like she's one of the people that she at least associates with the people that protest at Planned Parenthood. Okay. And she was talking about, how wonderful it is that they've actually had women that they were able to talk them out of an abortion, and how wonderful the woman feels afterward because they really didn't want the abortion. They had to get the abortion. And, it seems like the focus is always on that one situation. And yet when I'm out talking to people, those aren't the situations I hear about. I hear about, a woman that takes a drug for, it causes her to have a DNC. She's not even pregnant. Okay. And that drug will no longer be available to her. I was reading about, I can't remember the disorder is, but there was, oh my gosh, I can't believe I can't remember. But, women are, this is really more about limiting healthcare. And we're not even talking about pregnant women. And that's what's scary to me, that, we're willing to focus in on one little group. And one of the things that they said that was really upsetting to me was they said, now that we changed the law, what we really need to do is we want to make abortion something that, it's not even a choice. But you spent a lot of money changing the law and lobbying. And I think, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to get super religious here, but, I am a Catholic and I am Christian, and it doesn't seem like that's the way that you go about doing it.
Mm-hmm.
To take this broad swipe and, to harm people that aren't even pregnant, or women that are not the situation. One of the things I hear at the door all the time is, I'm not for abortion because I don't think that abortion should be birth control. I would love to know what the percentage is of women that have abortions that are about birth control, rather than, a victim of rape or incest, which I read the proposed bill, by the way, that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's what they're gonna actually sign into law, but that bill is pretty scary when it talks about a legal abortion would not be available to the victim of incest or rape. And there's all kinds of civil penalties, there's criminal penalties. I just don't get how, this is about religion and about life. Why are we focusing on punishment when it comes to this? When what we really need to be doing is, helping women.
Yeah.
Helping women not only at the level of pregnancy, but, a woman that does decide to have a child. How do we help a woman who, may have financial limitations? How do we help someone like that? Maybe even it's not about financial. How do we help women? And I wish the focus was on women and how we help them, rather than on how we limit healthcare to women. Because that bill is not just about limiting abortion. And, the definition of abortion is so much more than what the scenarios that they're talking about. It's really scary. I mean, as a woman, it's scary. As a woman who has 2 daughters, it's scary.
It is scary. And the crazy thing is, you said something that was just like on point. Why aren't they worried about the woman?
Right.
They literally are saying, we don't really care. You're just a host.
Yeah.
And Cinde, we're definitely going to need some federal legislation, and working in that Congress ain't going to be easy, but at least in the House, we can hang on to the House. That would be great. But talk about the importance of making sure that there's federal legislation to protect women in all states.
Well, yes. So there is a statistic, Lisa, that at least, and maybe more than half of all abortions that are sought, the people were using contraception, because contraception is not 100%. So, if you have some kind of disease or, something going on that it's not in your interest to carry a child, and you're using contraception and you still get pregnant, the government has given you a death sentence. So I think that's one of the unfortunate pieces of that. And, it's not, I think, overwhelmingly that, it's a very, very, very few. And I did read a statistic on it, and I can't remember this one, about, people who go to the abortion clinic to use it as birth control. That just basically is so low, it doesn't, it's negligible.
But it doesn't even matter.
So,
it shouldn't matter why they want.
Exactly. that's my point is it doesn't matter. It's healthcare. It's about, taking care of health, and it's a procedure. So the nonsense that was on in the hearings the other day about somebody saying that it wasn't an abortion if it was I don't know, for the health of the mother or something. It's like this. It's crazy what they're saying. But when women are denied abortion, they're 4 times more likely to live in poverty. They're 4 times more likely to be in poor health, be unemployed, and have bad credit, which means you can't do anything, go anywhere, or have a decent kind of a life in our society. So basically, it's just setting women and people who can get pregnant back decades. And so, it's a healthcare procedure that should have no interference by government, by insurance, or other parties outside of the person having the procedure and their healthcare provider. And as far as, federal funds being used for it, absolutely, it is a piece of healthcare, and it's a vital piece of healthcare. So if your life needs to be saved, there's no reason why federal funds can't be used to save your life. I think that's absolutely ridiculous.
I agree. And and we've heard it a couple of times now, and it's starting to become a catchphrase. An AR-15 has more rights than a woman. And that's What's so scary, right? We are living in the age right now. And of course, abortion is not the only thing we as women care about. We care about everything because most of the times we're the ones making all of the decisions in our home, economically, logistically, all of that. Safety as well. Y'all, I don't know if y'all gun owners or not. And I'm not, because I've shot weapons before, and it's not anything that I'm not cool with it. Like, watching a bullet go through flesh is not something that I really want to do. However, it's protected right, but do you really need an AR-15? And we're living in the age of mass shootings. You guys are moms. And at certain times, you've had to send your child off to school. Where we are right now in the United States when it comes to gun legislation is not in a good place. Indiana, July 1st, constitutional carry, you don't even have to have a permit. In DC, they tried to pass some legislation that, limited, but not really. And we also heard that they are not doing anything else. Can we talk about what sensible gun legislation looks like, Lisa, and what we need to do in the State House?
Well, if you don't mind, I want to go back to one thing, and that is the health of the mother. An abortion that could be legal if it was, if the mother's life was at risk. But I think that's really scary, because how do you determine that? And I'm going to give you an example. There was a bill in 2018 that went into law that prohibited a procedure that was used on I shouldn't say healthy, but mothers that did not want an abortion, who were forced to have an abortion because maybe the child, the way it was explained to me, this procedure was not only used for somebody, wanting an abortion, but also a mother who, if the child for whatever reason was not, had died, and it was a way of extracting the fetus, and for the health of the mother. But at the time that bill was out there, I was going around, and we had another bill that dealt with doctors. So we had a lot of doctors at the State House, and I found 8 OBGYNs, and I went up to every single one of them, and I explained to them the statute and the procedure. And I said, because what it did was, there was also a penalty to a doctor that performed one if the mother's life was not at risk. So how do you prove that, going back? Because there was also civil penalties. So like a third party could sue. All right. So it didn't have to be the father, it could be someone else. So there's a lot of complicated parts of this, but as the doctor performing it, I said, what do you think of this? To 8 different OBGYNs. And that's not a huge number of OBGYNs, but those are the ones that were at the State House. And all but one said that even though it was against the law, they would go ahead and do it. Because the question is, how does a doctor go back then and prove that the mother's life was at risk? You perform the procedure and everything is great. There's, the mother is healthy. And then 2 years down the line, there's a lawsuit, and doctor has to prove that he did that procedure and the mother's life was at risk if somebody does entertain a lawsuit. And so one of the doctors said to me, the one that said no, she would not perform it. She said, you know what? It would affect my malpractice insurance, so I just wouldn't do it.
See, okay, wait.
So, I
Okay,
mean,
now you
when
don't. Now
you
you don't.
say
Wait a minute. Now you
health
done
of
fire
the
me up.
mother.
Hold on. You done fire me up. See, first of all, the fact that she was putting her financial situation above the life of her patient is somewhat sus to me. I'm not going to question her moral standings in the world or nothing like that, but she literally just said my malpractice insurance versus the life of a human. All right, I'm gonna let her have that. That's her moral decision. Second,
100%. But I mean,
there shouldn't be any illegal procedures when it comes to the woman's body. And if you give the woman all of the information and let her make her own choice, you can always sign a disclaimer. That's easy. Or your family members, just like you have to have a DNR or whatever else you have to have. There are things in place to protect the doctor. So I don't know if Cinde, do you want to comment on that? I don't really like that.
but I mean, wait.
Well, I mean,
hold on, Lisa.
Well, I think
hold on, Lisa. Hold on. I'm gonna let Cinde in here.
When you think about the fact that pregnancy can be so devastating on every single body. I mean, it is not easy on body systems. I mean, a fetus is a very parasitic like organism that is designed to extract everything it can from the pregnant person's body. So the whole notion that it has to be in the case of a mother's life being at risk, that could be at any time during a pregnancy, at any instant, from any cause. I mean, it could be all of a sudden, kidneys shut down for some strange reason. You get in some weird position with the baby and it shuts your kidneys off. And then, I mean, it's little things like that that can happen in an instant. So, when they claim this, oh, well, only in the case of the health of the mother. Well, what about mental health? Mental health is absolutely 100% healthcare. And so, I don't buy any of those arguments that they're coming up with for any of this, depending on the health of the mother being at risk. The health of the mother is always at risk, or we wouldn't have any maternal mortality rate.
The highest in the nation. So, I mean, I appreciate that you even want to, you have engaged the other side, and because that's what we have to do, right? We have to be able to.
I was engaged on the other side when I was talking to doctors. I think most doctors had no idea. When I told them the bill, they're like, there's a bill out there like that? They had no idea what some of these laws are passed, and most people don't even have any idea about them. In 2018, when I was talking to people about periods for pens, I can't tell you how many right to life women I spoke to at the door who had no idea what it was. No idea. So I think that a lot of this is most people don't know. What they hear is, the propaganda, and I hate to call it propaganda, but that's what it is. It's the narrative that we're talking about abortions on women that, are having an abortion, not necessarily for a health reason.
Okay.
And I'm not saying you have to have a health reason, but there are women legitimately who have health reasons that need to have an abortion.
Okay.
And we have just eliminated that.
Yeah. Okay.
Or we're going to eliminate that.
Yeah. I got you, because that doctor is still sus to me. She will not be my old.
Don't be hating on the doctor. For this reason, I asked her a question that was, a what if question. But the purpose, it was helpful to me because it was kind of what I suspected, which is, how do you prove that? Why are we putting doctors in a position where they have to prove something
exactly
when they perform a procedure in the midst of an emergency?
Exactly. And you shouldn't do that. We shouldn't put those restrictions on. It should just be legal, and let the doctor and the patient decide on what's best for them. If we start putting all these restrictions on, then you're right. It does become complicated. That's why these men who still have yet to learn to navigate a woman's body ought to get out. Just get out.
And I think, that's one of the things I wanted to say was that, we put so much on, who's allowed to do what. And But what about the people making the decisions? I mean, shouldn't they have to pass a basic competency test in anatomy and physiology before they can make laws?
Whew.
If they're going to make laws about anatomy and physiology, I think they need to learn how it works. But
that ain't gonna happen because there's that ain't gonna happen. We're gonna let that go. We know you don't have to be bright to be elected to office. We know this. All right, let's because you know what, we gonna chop it up as long as y'all want to chop it up. All right, so let's get back to this. I want to get back to this gun legislation because this is big. This is huge because Indiana is now an open carry, or not an open carry, constitutional carry state. What could possibly go wrong? Lisa, when you get in that state house, you will be going into a state house, and you've already worked with some of those folks. They've been your colleagues. When they talk about just this, how do you plan on going about the sensible gun legislation conversation? Because we ain't trying to take nobody's gun. We just,
Well, I think that this last year, this bill goes so much further. And I was looking at the statements that were made by the superintendent for the Indiana State Police, Carter, where he made a statement, I got in the Senate, because the bill had passed the House, and when it was in the Senate, he said, if you pass this legislation, you will not be supporting police. Now, 2 years ago, a lot of Republicans ran on the fact that they were the ones that support police. The superintendent for the state police, the Indiana State Police, said, if you pass this bill, you are not supporting police. And taking a look at the bill a little bit further, from what I've read, police officers use that information, when you have a gun permit, when they pull somebody over, they know if somebody has a gun or not. I mean, that gives them a leg up, and it's a protection, it's safety for police. I mean, this is doing something that is putting us police officers at risk of safety. And that's pretty scary. And then the other thing that I read about the bill is that Indiana no longer will have a registry. We will no longer have a list of folks that have a handgun. And it limits the police officer's ability to ask questions. So a police officer comes up on a vehicle, maybe suspects, maybe wants to know. I mean, I don't know about you, but I think a police officer should be able to ask questions about whether or not they're encountering somebody that has a gun.
Absolutely.
And that bill limits their ability to ask questions.
They can't even ask.
From what I understand, they and I don't know what it's going to be, but the police have, I'm sure by now, have something in place, procedures in place to protect them. But I think that's a huge step in the direction of harming police officers. So we'll see how this thing plays out, but it's pretty scary.
Well, Cinde, before I don't want to even say anything till you jump in on this topic real quick.
Well, I mean, I spent 10 years teaching high school, and as not only a mom, but as a teacher, I've been that teacher who's been, shepherding kids into corners and trying to hide from being seen through a window when there was a guy robbing a bank next door. There's no describing it. So some of these legislators who are proposing some of this, and then they say arm the teachers, which is another
ludicrous
piece of ridiculousness, because if you've ever, especially been in a middle school or a high school, it's difficult to even break up a fight. And there are people who have some, oh, well, you could do this, no, you could do that. It's just a really bad idea to arm teachers overall, which I think is the next thing coming down the pipeline after this, removal of our licenses in Indiana. We license everything. We license helping people. So when we license helping people, but we're not licensing, people who could kill other people, it just, again, borders on the ridiculousness. I grew up in a family of hunters, so yes, I've held guns and shot them. And I was always the kid that would talk a lot during the hunting trips so that we wouldn't find anything to shoot and scare it away. But I hunt underwater with a spear. And I get that. There's a rush from that. But you don't need an AR-15 to hunt, period. when I grew up in a family of hunters, the first thing that we had was gun safety. In my high school classroom 5 years ago, when I asked about gun safety after Parkland, what I learned was that of all the kids that had guns, not even half of them had ever had any gun safety training. Most of them did not understand how the guns worked. Most of them could not tell whether the gun was loaded or not loaded, or how to ensure that it was not loaded at any time. And very few of them had gun safes. So, I mean, this is a big part of that. And it's a part, that can help. It certainly is not us. I mean, it's not going to help us get the AR-15s off the street. We don't need weapons of war on the street. And those are designed to hunt humans. I mean, unless you're hunting humans, you don't need one.
I agree wholeheartedly. And it's really scary. And for me, it is always, I think of it like Lisa does from the police officer's point of view. As Black people, they already fear for their life whenever they see us anyway, and they mistake cell phones for guns. Now they're gonna be like, oh Lord, I don't know what they had, and all the little black and brown people gonna keep dying in the streets. So, I even when, Philando Castillo said, I have a gun in the car, I have a permit to carry, he is now dead. He is now dead. So I'm sorry. It's almost like open season. And now it's like, well, I fear for my life because I didn't know if he had a gun or not because I looked in the registry. Oh, there's no registry. You know what I'm saying? There's a whole lot, the unintended consequences. And I think the whole goal is like mass hysteria, mass confusion, mass distraction so that we are not focusing in on what's really going on. And a lot of that, let's talk about the economy, y'all. I'm gonna go there because see, they act like the other side likes to pretend like we don't care about inflation or we don't care about small businesses and how people are surviving in this economic situation that we find ourselves in due to multiple factors. I think the refund that the governor is trying to give is good. I hate that they're holding it hostage, but I think it's a good thing. But I also think that we raised the gas tax in Indiana when we could have, because of a law that was already passed that went into effect July 1st, we could have held off on that. We could have done some other things. I would like to have a real conversation about economics and how Hoosiers, how you will approach creating policies at both the federal and state level when it comes to economics. Cinde, I'm gonna start with you this time and I'll hit you because the Fed stuff kind of pushes down when it comes to money. So we're gonna start at the top and then come back to the borders.
It does. Pence is blaming Biden and the infrastructure plan of the last 24 hours for inflation and says that the oil and gas industries and overregulation of those are to blame, and that the oil and gas companies should be held harmless. But when I look into it, real economists with actual degrees, the people that we call experts, even though sometimes people don't believe there are experts anymore, there actually are, talk more about wages and purchasing power that aren't keeping up with raising prices, and the fact that companies are taking in record profits across the board at the expense of consumers. And this is not just in the US, it's worldwide. So this junk about, this being Biden's plan and all the Democrats are bad, it's just junk, it's garbage. What would help, from what I've been reading from economists and, experts in the field, is that, windfall profit tax would be something that would encourage large corporations not to gouge, because profits above a certain amount over the past 5 year and then taking in COVID into consideration, that's how you determine that. And that could be a real winning point for the everyday consumer and people who are struggling right now, because it would give companies incentives not to raise those prices, which they are actually doing. To piggyback on that, antitrust lawsuits, because we have so few companies in a lot of areas like oil and gas and meat production. There are so few companies that they can kind of do whatever they want, and they're writing their own tickets. And let me tell you, their meal tickets are pretty hefty right now, and we're paying for it. So I think even the idea that there could be an antitrust suit out there against them will kind of hold them in check and keep them on their good behavior. And then the third thing that they put out there is stopping the stock buybacks. Those used to be illegal and called stock manipulation. Now there's all kinds of different ways they're spinning that. but it's an artificial way of raising stock prices. And in the end, it hurts the average consumer, and lets the company win again. So those are some things that I think we need to think about at the federal level. And I'm just, everybody knew worldwide that this was coming because of the pandemic. When you shut everything down and then you got to open it back up, of course, demand is going to exceed supply for a while. So, it makes a lot of sense. And when you get into it, just the spinning and the garbage that they're putting out there it just needs to stop.
I love it. I love it. All right, Lisa, the State House. I mean, this is the state that works, right?
So in 2017, there were 47 new taxes and fees that were put into law. And one of them was the gas tax. And as you know, the gas tax keeps increasing every single year. And in July, it increased again, even at a time when, we already have rebates going back to taxpayers because we took too much money in prior to that. I mean, it's just so crazy. There's been a lot of studies done now that we've had a Republican supermajority long enough that studies can be done on what we've been doing to, increase jobs and to try to keep people here, try to keep our, the brain drain from leaving. And some of the things that we've done have not been effective. So I'm thinking recently there was another study that was done on how we're getting businesses here. And a lot of what we're doing, we're enticing businesses to come here. I live in Northwest Indiana. We have a lot of Illinois businesses that have come here, and not just from Illinois. But, we get them to come here by either lowering their taxes or do they even pay taxes? So, and we've been doing this for long enough that there's been research done that shows that it's not helping. We're not bringing in high wage jobs. We're not able to, our police departments and our fire departments, when you have businesses, and we have an area, and I'm not going to name this particular area, but we have several areas actually where there's, I forget what they're called, but where there's a lot of new factories, new industry. And if they're not paying taxes, and a lot of times they're not even hiring Indiana residents, they're bringing their Illinois residents, their employees from Illinois here. It's not that far to drive. It's reasonable to come here. So if we're not getting taxes by their income tax, we're not getting taxes from, the either the property taxes or the taxes that a business should pay because they're getting all these breaks from enticing them to come here, then it's a huge strain on any community. The fire department, the police department, who do have to respond when there's an emergency at that building. So I think, where do we start? But getting back to what is the hot issue right now when I'm at the doors with people is, wait a minute, why did they take in so much money? And why is, everybody's asking about inflation. They're also asking about the gas prices. And Democrats did have a bill that we were going to propose. In fact, we were asking for it. And I say we, the House and the Senate, I believe, each had a bill. And they wanted to not even necessarily lower the gas tax, but not let it increase. I think somebody told me that it's like 50 cents extra or something. Is ridiculous, just that bump. So they wouldn't entertain it. But what we are going to talk about on July 25th is going to be something that is women's, that tiny bit of healthcare that we've already mentioned, that this bill that they're proposing is going to affect so many women, even women that aren't pregnant, negatively. That's what we're going to focus on instead of focusing on what I will tell you going door to door, what people care about. And that is, I don't want to have to pay high prices. I have to drive and I don't want to pay high gas or gasoline, pay for gasoline. Why aren't we working on the things that affect people every single day and the things that people care about? Well, I think we know why, but I think, one of the other
Say
things
why, so people know. Say it.
What's that?
Say it. Say why, so people know why. Because some people don't know why. Some people, you and I know, we've talked to enough people in the state and they look at, how many times have I heard, well, all of these Democratic run cities, why are their roads so bad? but they don't look at the infrastructure funding formula that basically says Indianapolis gets the same amount of funding, uses the same funding formula as, I don't know, Cass County or Switzerland County, when it's vastly different. But we take the blame. Look at this Democratic run city. Oh my God, so yeah, say why. Because these people don't know.
Well, I mean, it's not even, it really isn't even a secret. It's the supermajority. We don't have, working families don't have a seat at the table, bottom line. I mean, why are they not listening to what I'm knocking on doors and I'm telling you, the majority of people are saying to me, what the heck's going on with that gas tax? And how come I haven't got my rebate? And I've had people say to me, hey, you know what? Why are they calling it a rebate? That's my money that they took in. And I would even go this far. In 2020, I was working with small businesses a lot and helping them because we were maneuvering through a pandemic that we never had gone through before. And
not in 100 years.
One of the things that I had a lot of people say to me, a lot of them, because you had businesses that were having to reduce their prices in order to get people to want to, buy food from them or whatever business it was. They were changing their business model. And I had several people say to me, hey, can you see if they can, just for a time period, give us some relief on sales tax? And we were told, no, they would not, no, that doesn't belong to you. That belongs to the state. And I think what irony, and how many small businesses or even medium-sized businesses or large businesses went out of business after 2020, even into 2021.
Yeah.
And that Indiana's taking in all this tax money.
Yeah.
So much so that they have to give it back. They're not being nice and giving it back. They have to give it back. They took money. I mean, they reached into your pocket and took money that they didn't have the right to take, basically.
But Lisa,
And
you just said something that I think is the crux of everything that we at all levels of government need to be focusing in on. And that is, who is representing the common man? There are too many elected officials out here who are more focused in on how much money they can raise to stay in that seat versus what you're supposed to do while you're in the seat. Lisa, I'm gonna continue with you, but I'm gonna ask this question. Tell me how your mindset is different. As you want to represent people, how are you not like, okay, I just need to figure out how I'm gonna raise all this money and the highest bidder gets me and I'll do what they say? What is your mindset? What makes you different from those folks?
I think it goes back to what Cinde was talking about earlier. The family that I grew up in, my dad, he volunteered in the community coaching. I mean, he was and did not get paid. He was an athletic director for a Catholic school for 17 years. And I think I grew up in a family where you help people. But I think, you're talking about running a campaign. I think that's probably something that I don't even understand. I think that, and I remember having a conversation with one of the, it was somebody that I was canvassing, and he said, what do you think about such and such? And it was something I wasn't familiar with. And I said, I don't know, I'd like to hear more about it. And he almost got upset and said, why don't you have an opinion on it right now? And I said, I think you want me not to have an opinion on things. You want me to look at all parts of it. And then to look at all parts of it and then, trust me that I'm going to make the right decision. I think we're so politically charged right now that people expect their politician, their elected official, to make decisions based on what's on, on the TV rather than what's in front of them. And I think people appreciate it when they have someone that does take a look at what's out there. So going back to your question, it's really difficult when you are running for office and that you have to raise money and that you have to, if you're a politician and Democrats are not this, where your party's going to support you financially and give you a lot of money, pay for workers to go, I have to get volunteers and I love my volunteers, don't get me wrong. But, Julia Olthoff in 2020, the state paid for people to go into the district and to register voters. They paid for that. They also paid for, in 2018, she had a TV ad on a commercial on Chicago TV, which was incredibly expensive.
Right?
Yeah, just in her in what she spent in 2018, what showed up on her reports, it was nearly $1 million. Nearly $1 million for a job that pays $26,000 a year. I mean, there's something there. So you have to ask yourself, and I think that the amount of money that you have to raise as a Democrat, because we don't take big money like that, is how many people would be really great candidates if they didn't have to raise money like that.
Public
I was at
funding.
a training for a women's organization in Minnesota, and in Minnesota, there's a law that says that for state representatives, you cannot use or raise more than $250,000.
Wow.
And I think that even with that, even if redistricting didn't change, because I'm going to raise probably 1/10 of what my Republican opponent is going to have available to her. 1/10.
Not if they click that link, that Act Blue link, and donate to Lisa Beck.
Thank you. And I think, but that's the reality of it. Yeah. And you look at, like, I had a lady, a friend of mine told me that there was a teacher from that lived in my district, but she lived outside the district, but she taught in my district. And in 2020, again, with COVID, we didn't put up the signs that we did in 2018. It just was, everything for us, because we were respectful of the CDC and the governor. We did what we wanted to make sure people were not, there was no safety, there was no health safety involved. But anyway, so, I had less signs up, and a lady said, is she having problems because she doesn't have as many signs up? Like, I think on one hand, you say, why do we need to spend that kind of money? But on the other hand, people are so used to it, they expect it. And if you don't spend the money, or if you don't show that you have support, financial support, then I think people don't take you seriously. So I think I would love to see something like Minnesota has, where you can't spend more than $250,000.
I love
That's
it.
Plenty of money.
So Cinde, what makes your mindset different that you're going to be representing the people?
So one thing I'd like to add to that, Lisa, is that Indiana has no ethics laws around campaign or being a legislator in Indiana. So, I mean, I would love to see ethics laws that would protect voters from people coming in and being legislators and using it for their own profit. That's something that when I was running in 2020, I was very surprised to find out. So what makes me different, Dana? Well, I'm the kind of person that I had 4 ladies who were over the age of 75 track me down at different county fairs in the last 2 weeks and tell me that they were lifelong Republicans, and they were so happy to support me because they knew that I knew what Indiana needed to protect women, for small businesses, and that while they didn't feel they could come visit me at the tent or the booth or whichever fair I was at, they made it a point. One of them, who was pushing her walker chair thing and yelling me down the promenade of the fair, because it's so important to them that someone that they can trust will represent them and represent them fairly. And I think I'm authentic, and people see that. I think being a small business person, being a teacher, being a scientist, I think that all helps. I understand things, I can explain it. I understand how things work. And it really hit me in the heart that there is a whole group of women who remember pre-1973.
Yep.
They remember, and they are reaching out to me and my campaign saying, we need you. And when you hear that, and not only that, there was a young dad who brought his 9-year-old daughter to meet me. I mean, I was almost in tears, because he's like, oh, we've been coming every day to meet you. And it was a fair that I couldn't get to every single day because I had 4 that week. And he's like, we've been coming every day hoping you'd be here. We just wanted to meet you so badly because you're what she needs for the future. Those kind of things. That's what makes me different. I care. I mean, I'm not going to sell my brother out. My brother works in a job that I keep asking him, hey, is this really legal what they're doing? Doesn't this violate OSHA? Doesn't it? No, I have my brother's back. And I always will. And, if he were doing something illegal, I would do my due diligence, to support the law, but I wouldn't sell my brother out for what
Honey,
did you
say
call
it
him,
again.
Dana?
Say it.
What
You
did
know
you
what?
say, Dana?
You guys said some things that really kind of. I'm gonna wrap it up. Wrap a bow around a lot of what you guys have been talking about tonight, because I'm telling y'all hit some nuggets. You talked about ethics laws. You talked about how much money was being spent on these campaigns. And if you think about it, what they've been able to, the way our structure is set up in Indiana is that they've been able to purchase our state and purchase our lives via how they write policies after they bought those seats. That is a really scary proposition when you know, as someone like me, I know these people a lot of those folks don't have my best interests at heart. I've watched them write legislation that says people in the LGBTQ plus community are not real people, and so they don't deserve the same rights. I've watched them, we've had to fight over the fact that we are women doing the same jobs, but we can't get equal pay, right? So they've been able to purchase the ability to dictate how we live our lives. And that's why y'all, and if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, but that is why it is so important that we galvanize people to go get registered to vote and get to the polls. They think that it doesn't matter, right? My vote doesn't matter. Yes, it does. We can counteract all of that, but we got to get at the grassroots level. Like you said, Lisa, you were out knocking doors. You were late because you were knocking doors? Oh, yay. How about that? I love that. You've been hitting 6 fairs? Oh, yeah. That's what I'm talking. It ain't gonna happen overnight, but y'all are doing the work, and obviously y'all's intellect supersedes a whole lot of folks that are at the federal level, because I've heard the MTGs talk. And not just any woman will do. Not just any woman will do, y'all. I mean, this is exciting stuff. I'm so glad that I had it. This was good. This hour went by so daggone quick. Like, we over, but I wanted to get this in. This was dope. Lisa, tell the people where they can find you. You're on mute. Tell the people where they can find you. There we go.
So I'm from House District 19, we just got redistricted. So I'm in Crown Point, Winfield, Lakes of Four Seasons, and Boom Grove, which is Hebron. And my P.O. box, if you are so inclined, and I would love for a donation, is at P.O. Box 147 in Crown Point 46408.
And do you have any events coming up?
I do. I have an event. It's a meet and greet on July 28th. It's at I forget the name of the place. It's the Banquet Center in Valparaiso. It's on my Facebook page, the address, how to get there. It's on Calumet in Valparaiso. We're going to be doing some free picnics in Four Seasons. One is on July 23rd, which is a Saturday from 11 to 2 at Big Bass Beach. And then the other one is on August 8th. I believe that's the Saturday. And that is from 11 to 2 as well. It's at Lions Park. And then, we have some other things that I don't have dates on, but we're going to have probably about 4 or 5 other events coming up, which I'm super excited about.
Well, keep me posted. Make sure you send me good stuff. I don't know if you guys know it or not, but I have like events that I have on a slideshow, so people can, while they're listening to us, they can hear about the event. So make sure you guys shoot that stuff over to me so I can add it to the slideshow. Cinde, tell the people where they can find you.
So we are on Twitter at CWIRTH 4 Congress. And then our web address is www.wirth 4 Congress @gmail.com. We have 2 events, one August 1st at 8 p.m. I'm sorry, my dog, we have construction going on
That's
outside
all right.
the street. Okay.
Listen, turn left has seen a lot of dogs.
Anyway, she picks now.
That's all good.
Do the big fluffy thing. And then we have one August 17th. There's more information available, I think, on Facebook for both of those. We also have Indiana's first political non-fungible token, NFT, which you can find linked through Twitter at the Wirth #4 Congress Twitter site, because we are in 11 counties. We are in Randolph, Wayne, Union, Fayette, Henry, Rush, Hancock, Shelby, Bartholomew, Johnson, and Marion County. So people don't realize that Marion and Johnson County are now in the 6th district, and they may be represented by Greg Pence. So it is really important that Marion and Johnson County get the word out that they need to show up to vote. So he does not represent them going forward.
Exactly. Y'all,
but yeah, check out the NFT we did is a local woman of color who is an artist, and she did a phenomenal piece that it's a digital piece of art in celebration of the first Roe decision. It is $122.73 for the date that Roe came out. So as soon as we sell out of those, we will have T-shirts of this gorgeous art that everyone can be wearing, and it's pretty impactful. So we're really excited about that.
And it's really nice. I mean, I'm be honest, I'm not like the artsy person, but I was like, I'd wear that if it was on a hat or a T-shirt. I would. I absolutely would. Ladies, you know, Lisa, I am so glad that you were able to jump on. It looks like there was, and I said it earlier in the show, it looked like it might have been a miscommunication. I should have done more due diligence and I didn't, but I'm so glad that you were able to jump in. Cinde, you are so amazing. You guys are so wonderful. I sat on a call on the other night, Indiana Nasty Women. They're starting to definitely get galvanized. I had a call today with somebody who was on that call that reached back out to me, and they're fired up and they're ready to go. Y'all, I know a lot of people think that it's all this that I do is self-serving, and well, it is, because it makes me happy to do the work that I do. But honestly, this is about getting our message out, because if I hear it one more time, how can I hear about what's going on or what's happening in the streets? Turn Left is on every Thursday. Turn Left is on every Thursday. I have guests that are on here so you can hear about the candidates who are running. You don't have to worry about what somebody ain't doing. Indiana's own is doing. And that's where you can go to find out who these candidates are, what the issues are, what the talking points are, because the way they described how they they're campaigning, these two ladies, those are your talking points. That's the information that you take back to whoever you need to talk to get them to show up to the polls. And you can watch the replay on YouTube, and I have a Spotify, and you can find it on Google, and I'm making sure that I get it on all the podcast locations so that people can hear this information. So stop asking who's doing what and where is who doing. It's right here. Indiana's own, Dana Black, Turn Left. We're hosting the people who are trying to get elected so they can write policies that will improve your lives. Please understand that. I love what I do. I love being able to do it. But honestly, we still need all of you all to take heed, get involved at the grassroots level, go talk to your neighbor, and get people to the polls and recognize the significance of every vote at every level of government. Every election has consequences. And Roe v. Wade being overturned is the ultimate consequence of a lot of people staying home, not wanting to get involved, or thinking that somebody else is going to solve the problem for you. And
the voting booth is private.
Absolutely. Don't nobody know what you're doing, right? The other thing is, I'm not receiving any corporate money. In fact, I don't receive any money for doing this. So if you want to come on here, first of all, I say with love, you're not cursing and you're not getting ready to bash a whole bunch of people. I don't do that. But this place is where candidates come and talk about who they are. And it's here, it's free. The only way they're going to shut me down is if AT&T cuts my fiber. That's the only way I'm going to get shut down. That's why this free space is important. And I'm not the only one, y'all. My man, Miguel Hampton, down in Jeffersonville, he has Common Conversation. Check him out. My man, Mark Gavart, up in Fort Wayne, he has My Labor Radio. Check it out. My man, Mr. Snyder, who's also running for Congress right now, Gary Snyder, he has a whole network. You can find this information if you want to find it. And what's so great about it is all you have to do is share links with people to inform them about what is going on. We don't have to make this hard. We don't have to make this hard, and we don't have to make it expensive. All right, y'all. I love y'all for tuning in every week until the election. I will have, well, except for August 18th, because that's IDEA weekend, but we'll have people here every week so that you can learn about the issues and you can learn about the candidates and you can find out about what is going on in your community. All right, Indiana's own Dana Black Turn Left. I'll holler at y'all next time. Peace.